Tonight, on this edition of John Ankerberg, is astrology a true or false practice? This is an important question since 40 million Americans believe in some form of astrology, and over 1 billion people in the world look to astrology for help in guiding their lives. Recently, it was learned that astrology has influenced even the highest levels of our national government, the White House, and as you will hear, also influences our industry, the sciences, education, the church, and the home. John's 5 guests tonight will be astrologer Maxine Taylor, First Vice President of the American Federation of Astrologers and the author of 5 astrological texts. Astrologer Terry Warnicki, past President of the Arizona Society of Astrologers, who holds a Master of Science degree in astronomy. Karen Winterburn, former professional astrologer for 12 years, who, because of research and personal events, quit her profession and renounced her belief in astrology. Dr. John Weldon, an authority on comparative religions and author of numerous books on the cults and the occult. He holds degrees in sociology, divinity, Christian apologetics, and comparative religions. Dr. Walter Martin, the founder and director of the Christian Research Institute in California. He is the author of the classic best-selling volume, The Kingdom of the Cults. We invite you to hear this program and be sure to stay tuned to learn how you may receive your own free copy of the brand new anchor book entitled The Facts on Astrology. This book, written by John Ankerberg and Dr. John Weldon, answers such questions as, what is astrology? Do the heavens really influence life on Earth? What are the dangers of astrology? Does the scientific evidence prove or disprove astrology? And what does the Bible say about astrology? We invite you to join us for this edition of John Ankerberg.
Welcome. We're glad that you joined us tonight, and our topic is, what is the relationship of astrology to Christianity? Is astrology credible? And you can see from May 23rd, People magazine had a big article on this, and of course when Nancy Reagan talked about her relationship with her astrologer in California, this also made news in Time magazine. And tonight we have some people that know this topic, and we're glad that you've joined us. And I'm going to come to Miss Maxine Taylor first, the first Vice President of the American Federation of Astrologers and a practicing astrologer in Atlanta. And I'd like to ask you, Maxine, we're glad that you're here first of all. We'd like to ask you just to define terms. What is astrology?
Well, astrology, as I see it, because each astrologer will define it a little bit differently, just as you know, everyone can interpret things differently. The study of astrology is the study of the relationship between God and man. And because each astrologer interprets it differently, to show you that there is room for all type of thought in astrology, you might be interested in hearing Terry's definition of astrology.
Okay, Terry, what's your definition of astrology?
Well, mine would be a great deal different, of course, because of the scientific background, and I would construct a sort of scientific definition that would go something like, astrology is a holistic or spatially oriented science that studies the effects of major astronomical-sized objects, usually within the solar system, in terms of their effects upon specifically located entities and events on or near the Earth's surface.
Dr. Martin, astrology is a belief system based on assumptions, and primarily that the stars, the planets, the sun, somehow they are mysteriously influencing the lives of men. And there are 40 million Americans that are said to dabble in astrology. And of all things, the Gallup poll just came out and said that 10% of evangelical Christians embrace astrology. You don't. Tell us why you object to astrology with all of these people, and with our friend sitting right next to you. Why is it that you object to astrology?
Do we have a half hour?
No, we don't. Briefly.
To briefly sum it up, I would have to say that my reservations about astrology are based upon its origins its association with polytheism, and the fact that what you're really getting is an analysis of the characteristics of the gods when they are discussing the various signs of the zodiac. This can easily be demonstrated, has been for a number of years. Actually, the Oxford English Dictionary gives an excellent definition of this. It says that astrology is the art of judging the occult influences of the stars upon human affairs. And this is where astrology has always been coming from as far as the Christian church is concerned and Judaism is concerned. There's nothing to be said good about astrology in the Old Testament that's connected with polytheism and paganism. And I think if we're going to deal with it honestly from a Judeo-Christian perspective, and this is a country which espouses that perspective, the United States, then I think it'd be a good idea for Western civilization to take a good look at the origin of it and not be misled by the fact that scientific information and other things are brought in an attempt to establish it. Biblically speaking, it's not compatible with Christianity.
Terry, you're shaking your head like you disagree there. Let's go back to your definition here. Would you agree that astrology is saying that there is a connection between the whole universe? It's interconnected, and that somehow that what is happening in the planets is happening in men. It's influencing men. Was that how you would put it?
Yes, absolutely. And I certainly would hope that we would be misled by the things that modern science has accomplished. To say that, or to suggest that there's no connection between astrology and Christianity or the Judeo-Christian tradition is simply ludicrous. There are statements, for example, if you take one in the Bible, in Luke 21, chapter 21, 25, when the apostles ask Christ how they will know when the time of the end is near, he answers to them, there'll be great signs or great portents in the sun, the moon, and the stars that tell you when the time is near. Now, there's an example of Christ using astrology, but not only that, he's even recommending to his apostles that they use this technique to tell about something to happen in the future.
Do you really believe that Jesus Christ would use something that's condemned by Moses in the Old Testament?
I don't believe it's condemned by Moses in the Old Testament.
Dr. Martin, what do you think?
Well, that's ludicrous. First of all, the context of Luke 21 is talking about the end of the ages. There'll be signs in the sun and the moon. Then he describes them. The moon will be turned to blood. The sun will be darkened. That's your signs. He's not talking astrology. He's talking about, if you can look up at the terrestrial heavens and you can see this, you know immediately that this is nearing the time of the end. Jesus Christ was a rabbi, number one. 2, he was an Orthodox rabbi. 3, he said that the greatest of all the authority that we could turn to was the Word of God. He said that Moses wrote of him, and he backed up what Moses said in fulfilling his prophecies. He was the Messiah, the Redeemer of the world. He had all the knowledge necessary to inform us if astrology was good. So did the apostles. They didn't. In fact, they backed up Moses in the Old Testament, where God lists astrology in Deuteronomy chapter 18 as under his curse, specifically. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Hebrew or not, but I have both Hebrew and English here tonight. Deuteronomy chapter 18, when thou hast entered into the land which the Lord thy God gives thee, there shall not be found in the midst of you anybody who practices divination, astrology, and astrology is essentially divination. The person who's casting a horoscope is saying, I can tell you something through the stars about you, your times, and the future. I can do that through this information. That is biblical definition of divination and the dictionary definition. Quote, the act or practice of foreseeing or foretelling future works or describing hidden knowledge. The art or practice of trying to foretell the future of the unknown by occult means, close quote. Now, you qualify in the Hebrew language and in the Greek language for occultist. You qualify for condemnation under the law of Moses. Now, I believe that astrologers are sincere because there's obviously power there, and they've tapped into